Are you considering making a move, specifically state to state? Are you overwhelmed and not sure where to start, trying to decide exactly where to move? Well, today's video is for you. I help people move to Florida and specifically the Sarasota, Lakewood Ranch areas. However, I did a little house hunting of my own out of state, and it really made me think about the process a little bit more in depth. So I wanted to discuss some steps to help you with your house hunting journey and share some of my experiences. So stick around. First, if you're new to my channel, I'm Lisa McBride with Sarasota Neighborhood Experts. My team and I love helping people buy, sell, and invest in real estate. Now be sure to hit the subscribe button, leave comments below, and let us know if we can be of help. Recently, I traveled to Denver to visit both of my daughters. It is so nice having them both live in the same location, and I have discussed and toyed with the idea of purchasing another home near them to use for my visits and a possible investment property. And it's always great as an agent to be able to step back into the role as a buyer so that we get to kind of refamiliarize ourselves with the stress of home hunting. Also, both of my daughters are looking at homes, and so we had a lot of time spent talking about real estate and the whole home hunting process. In doing so, we have come up with some real key points and tips needed to house hunting. So if you are thinking about moving to Florida or across country or just across town, here's some things to keep in mind. Number one step, always know your budget. Occasionally, I get calls from home buyers that will tell me that budget really is not important to them and that they're more concerned about location and amenities. However, when I talk to them a little bit more, everyone has a budget. You know, if you tell me you have no budget, believe me, I'm going to show you some gorgeous homes on the beach. But budget is very important to know. And budget is very different and important when you're moving to another city because every city has its average prices and what you need to know how to budget for that city. For instance, the average price in Kansas City will be vastly different than probably Dallas, Texas, or I'm sure Denver, Colorado is completely different than Orlando, Florida. So you really need to know what you want to spend, what you can spend, and what you will need to spend when purchasing that next home. You may be moving from Roanoke, Virginia, where the average price point may be $350, but if you're moving here to the Sarasota, Lakewood Ranch area where our average price is over $600,000, it can really be a sticker shock. So I highly recommend that you speak to a lender, or if you are going to make a cash purchase, you discuss this with your financial planner so you know exactly what you can do and what you're comfortable doing. The second biggest step is deciding what you want your lifestyle to look like. Most people think the home is the most important decision, and if you find the perfect home, it's going to be fine. However, I really disagree with that because I think lifestyle determines what we want even more than the home or even the budget. Do you want to be close to work? Do you want to be walking distance to schools, shopping, entertainment, lots of different activities? Also, do you want to be in a gated community? How do you want your lifestyle to look? Do you want a single family home, a townhome, villa, condo? Every city has a variety of styles of homes, townhomes, villas. They might be called differently, but they all have them. And it's really important to have an idea if this is something, which way you really want to go. And each has its pros and cons. Also keep in mind, if you want to maintain your own yard, do you want to pay for HOA fees, and do you want a lot of amenities? Remember, when moving to Florida, we have the most gated neighborhoods and amenity-rich communities. When moving to Sarasota, I often ask, how important are the beaches when purchasing? This is a key factor when moving to Florida. Unfortunately, we're not all right on the beach. The number three thing, as I mentioned, lifestyle and budget are really key steps here. Well, those two things are incredibly important. The next is, where do you want your home to be located? And when I say that, sometimes it can be different city or different community or different neighborhood. We really have to dive into that. As I said, lifestyle is about where you're located compared to dining options, shopping, and friends. If you're moving to a new area because you want to be closer to your friends and family, it's really imperative to know that. So those are all things we have to think about. The number four critical step is, I think you have to really work with a local experienced real estate agent. I realize we all start searching on Zillow, Redfin, or Realtor.com, which I think are all great options. But a few things to keep in mind: if you see homes on these sites that are interesting to you, your real estate professional can show you any home and they will be representing you. For instance, if you happen to see a home on Redfin and click on it to get some information, an agent is going to call you that has paid to be on Redfin's site, and they're not the listing agent. They may not know anything about the home, and they may not even represent you. So again, make sure to work with an expert when moving anywhere, and that expert will give you all the information and make sure that you're represented. The housing market is constantly changing, and this is a very large investment, so be sure to work with an expert. Okay, so now we've talked about lifestyle, we've talked about budget, what to expect, where you want to live. The next step is critical, and I highly recommend that you visit and do not solely go off of what you see online or watch here on YouTube. As much as I really appreciate you all watching, and I love putting out amazing information about our area, I really believe you have to experience it firsthand, even if it's for 2 days to drive through neighborhoods and really experience what it's like. So there are some key steps to get started in home hunting. Now I have a few tips that will make this even easier. Tip number 1, think long term. Think about the relationship you're going to have with this home over the span of years. If this is your first home, you're going to look at that very differently than if you are downsizing after raising your family in another home. If you're looking for your second home, third home, a vacation home, all of these things are very, very different. And so you really need to look down the road, how it will accommodate you, your loved ones, and the lifestyle you want. Be sure to try to envision yourself there for a long term. Tip number 2, don't shop at the very top of your budget. We want a little bit of wiggle room. While it can be very tempting to look at the very limit that you can afford, you do need a little bit of wiggle room, as everyone always likes to go up a little bit and you don't know exactly how much flexibility a seller is going to have. Also, there is closing cost associated with buying, there's moving costs, and so there's additional costs with buying, and you want to be sure that you feel financially secure in your decision. Tip number 3, understand the thrill of the hunt. You have to know what you're getting into in the market. Is the market crazy hot like we experienced in the last few years? Or is it a little softer? Do you have a little bit more time to think about the purchase? It's really hard to know, and some months can be one, the next month can be different. For instance, here in Florida, we are busiest during the winter months, and sometimes you don't have quite as much time to really think about it. I know I'd like to have everyone be able to sleep on it, give 3 or 4 days to really make sure you're making the right decision, but a good home is going to sell quickly no matter what the market is. So definitely know what the market's like, know if you have time to think about it, or if you have to react quickly. Tip number 4, now remember, you can make changes to most homes, specifically cosmetic or aesthetic changes. First of all, there's not a perfect home. Does not matter what your budget is, there's no perfect home. There will always be something, even if you build a home, that you're gonna wish that you have changed. So if you see a home that you don't like the drapery in the living room, or you really don't like the carpet in the master bedroom, or perhaps there's some wallpaper in a bathroom, these are all minor cosmetic changes that are pretty easy to remedy. So if everything else is great, don't get too caught up on the small things. When house hunting, keep a very realistic eye on what you can do and things you can do to boost your home's value over time. Your ability to imagine within reason to make a few small changes is really critical. Tip number 5, don't overestimate though what you can tackle and do. There is a big difference between a few key aesthetic upgrades and a completely remodel. The spectrum of rehab is large. Sometimes it's as simple as painting a few rooms. Other times it may be replacing a countertop in the bathroom. But if you look at a home and you're like, this is just perfect, but I want to tear down this wall, and I want to extend the lanai, and I want to add wall-to-wall hardwood floors, these are much bigger and things that you need to keep in mind as far as the budget. Another thing to be sure to watch out for when buying a home, always know the major mechanicals when buying a home. Those are really key to me. The biggest things I look for are the age of the windows, the age of the roof, the age of the air conditioner, and water heater. These are big ticket items that if you're not sure about, every home should have an inspection, and your inspector is going to highlight these things for you. Tip number 6, if you have the chance, be sure to drive through the neighborhood at multiple times, day or night, so you can kind of get a sense of what the neighborhood is like. Are people out walking around in the morning? Are kids riding their bikes? Are the neighbors gathering? You'll get a very good sense of a neighborhood if you're able to spend a little bit time in the neighborhood before having to purchase. So it's a great little tip and something I think everyone should do. Tip 7, okay, I know we all know people that have bought homes before, and everyone has a story about process they went through when buying or selling. However, I am going to advise you to limit how many people's advice you get, because everyone wants to tell you their worst case scenarios and give you input. However, this is your home, this is your lifestyle, this is your money and your decision. Your nephew or your uncle or your brother or your best friend may have some input, but take it all lightly and decide what is very, very important to you. And again, discuss with your agent, with your financial planner, the people that are really important in this deal that do this. Be sure to advise with them and take everyone's advice just a little bit with a grain of salt. I know we all like people to help us make decisions and reiterate that we're doing the right thing, but remember, it has to be right for you, not for them. Tip number 7, pay close attention to the MLS and what's coming up on Redfin, Zillow. Your agent will have you set up to get automatic emails or call you when something great comes on the market that they believe is perfect for you. You do have to be ready, willing, and able to find the perfect home. Keep searching online, be ready, and have to be diligent when it comes to house hunting. Tip 8, walk through the home in person if you can. However, if you are buying remotely and you're working with anyone on my team, we do a lot of virtual showings. However, back to tip 3, 4, 5, whatever it was, I always prefer that you've been in town, we've been through homes, we've been through neighborhoods, and we know exactly what you're looking for. We definitely have worked with lots of buyers that have been in town for a week, couldn't find the perfect home, and then we will find it 2-3 weeks down the road and do a lot of video tours that way as well. It really helps that we can walk through it together. We can point out the good, the bad. We look for a lot of things when looking and showing homes. We look for the things that you don't always notice, such as maybe a little leak on the ceiling or a crack in the wall or just any of those things. So as a buyer, we do definitely want to do a very diligent look at the homes before we write any offers. Next tip, be sure to manage your expectations. Buying a home definitely can be a little bit of a long and arduous process. Unfortunately, many times we think, okay, we're ready to buy a home, so we're just gonna go out and look for 3-4 days, and of course there should just be a home that we like, right? Unfortunately, it does not always work that easy. Home hunting is fun for a couple days, and then it gets to be like a job. So you really have to manage your expectations. You have to be prepared. You have to be okay with maybe this taking 3-4 months. Again, we have to know exactly what the market is doing, because the market is constantly changing, and this is something that I want to make sure is the right fit for you, that you're going to be happy with for long periods of time. So don't give up. We're going to help you find the perfect home. Final tip, don't forget about some other of the hidden costs when buying a home. I know we talked about budget very much, but there's also a budget that comes with every home. For instance, the utility bills, the insurance costs, and if there's HOA fees. So be sure to diligently ask the questions: how much are the utilities? How old is the air conditioner or furnace in your home? That sometimes makes a big difference. And specifically here in Florida, we have a lot of concerns with homeowners insurance. I've done a whole video on things to be prepared for when buying a home, so be sure to watch that next. And finally, here in Florida, be sure to know whether or not you are able to rent the home out. If you have any thoughts or desires of renting your home at some point for an Airbnb, if you're not living here year round, are you able to do this? There are lots of deed restrictions in Florida, and you do need to know everything about renting a home here. So as you can see, it's not just a few steps when buying a home. There's a lot of tips tips, a lot of things to think about when buying. Home hunting should be so much fun, and that is something that I am passionate about, bringing fun into home hunting, even though it can be very stressful. As I said, it was a great experience for me to be able to look for homes in Colorado, not just for myself, but with my daughters, and really see different neighborhoods and perspectives. And in a few days, I definitely felt very, very comfortable with where we're all looking, what we're looking for, what we want. And so if you have any questions about the home hunting process, what it's like to move to Florida, anything I can do to help, my team and I are here to help. So next, be sure to check out this video, the crucial mistakes to avoid before moving to Florida. As always, I greatly appreciate you watching, and until next time, take care.